His name was Albert Edward Robinson Rosepetal III. How strange and sad he was. All the others who had come to see me had been rich, but he was poor. The others had been handsome, but Albert, poor Albert, he was as ugly as a humid day. He waddled up to my room, scratched on the door, and said in a frail and very frightened voice, "Will you please marry me?" And so I did. It was as simple as that. Shortly afterwards, Rosalinda came. I've always felt there was something star-crossed about those two, for she was the only person I ever met who was equally as ugly as he. Well, naturally, I never let on that I knew she had come. When she walked in front of me, I looked straight through her. When she spoke, I looked away. And though Albert watched me like a naughty child, anxious to see his mother's reaction to a mischievous deed, I disregarded him and continued my life as if nothing had changed. I said good night as politely as possible and left them alone. The monster and my husband. Two soulmates expressing their souls through sin. Ah, but the signs of regret were beginning to show. How little he ate, how little he spoke, how slowly he seemed to move. And through the keyhole at night I could see his large, round, empty eyes shining sadly in the dark. And then one night he died. 1 year after she had come, he passed on. The doctors didn't know why. His heart, they said, seemed fine. And yet he died. At 1 o'clock in the morning, his heart stopped beating. But it wasn't till dawn that she discovered he was dead. Well, don't you get it? Don't you catch the irony, the joke? He died at 1. At 1 o'clock in the morning? Well, don't you get the point? The point of this whole story? He was lying with her in bed for nearly 6 hours, dead, and she never knew. Well, don't you see? Their affair, their sinfulness, it never even existed. What a lover he must have been! What a lover! He tried to make me jealous, but there was nothing to be jealous of. His love was sterile. He was a child. He was weak. He was impotent. He was mine. Mine all the time. Even when he was in bed with another, even in death. He was mine. I used to be what they call a Christ-bitten reformer. You know what that is? A kind of benign exhibitionist. Well, I delivered stump speeches, wrote letters of protest about the gradual massacre of the colored majority in this county. I thought it was wrong for pellagra and slow starvation to cut them down whenever the cotton crop failed from armyworm or boll weevil or too much rain in summer. I tried to put up free clinics, squandered the money my mother left me on it. And when that Willie McGee thing came along, he was sent to the chair for having improper relations with a white whore. I made a fuss about it. I put on a potato sack and set out for the Capitol on foot. Now this was in winter. I walked barefoot in this burlap sack to deliver a personal protest to the governor of the state. Oh, I suppose it was partly exhibitionism on my part, but it wasn't all exhibitionism. There was something else in it too. You know how far I got? 6 miles out of town. Hooted, jeered at, even spit on every step of the way, and then arrested. Guess what for? Lewd vagrancy. That was the charge. Lewd vagrancy. Because the potato sack I had on was not a respectable garment. Well, all that was a pretty long time ago, and now I'm not a reformer anymore. I'm just a lewd vagrant, and I'm showing the SOBs just how lewd a lewd vagrant can be when she puts her whole heart into it like I do mine. All right. I've told you my story. The story of an exhibitionist. Now I want you to do something for me. Take me out to Cypress Hill in my car, and we'll hear the dead people talk. They do talk there. They chatter together like birds on Cypress Hill, but all they say is one word, and that one word is live. They say live, 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 live. It's all they've learned. It's the only advice they can give. Just live. Simple. A very simple instruction. I would not be thy executioner. I fly thee, for I would not injure thee. Thou tell'st me there is murder in mine eye. 'Tis pretty sure and very probable that eyes, which are the frailest and softest things, who shut their coward gates on enemies, should be called tyrants, butchers, murderers. Now I do frown on thee with all my heart, and if mine eyes can wound, now let them kill thee. Now counterfeit to swoon. Why now fall down, or if thou canst not, oh, for shame, lie not to say mine eyes are murderers. Now show the wound mine eye hath made in thee. Scratch thee but with a pin, and there remains some scar of it. Lean but upon a rush, the cicatrice and capable impressure thy palm some moment keeps. But now mine eyes, which I have darted at thee, hurt thee not. Nor, I am sure, there is no force in eyes that can do hurt. It's not a very pretty story. I grew up right here in Houston. I was pretty. I was the national champion baton twirler, and I only dated football players. Sound familiar? The typical American girl. Now, the first boy I went all the way with was Bobby Barton. Bobby was the state champion high school quarterback, and since I was a champion too, only a national one, it was pretty natural that we should get together. It was in the back seat of his daddy's Ford Fairlane on our 11th date. Remember them? They were two-toned with a chrome trim, made kind of a dip along the door. Well, anyway, I really enjoyed it, and Bobby did too. Gee, it was swell. I started going all the way with him on every date we had. Then one day after school during football practice, somebody tackled Bobby and he just didn't get up. I mean, he was dead. So then I started dating Bobby's best friend, Terry Walsh, who played right guard and who'd been the one who accidentally killed Bobby during football practice that time. He drove a sports car, a reptile green MG, so we had to spread blankets on the ground first. Terry got killed during the game with Lubbock for the state quarterfinals down in Austin. Spontaneous concussion. Now, my senior year at Sunset, I started dating and going all the way with Tiny Walker, who played left end and who'd been Terry and Bobby's real good friend. He drove a blood red, chopped down Plymouth Fury with dual carburetors and 2 front seats you could make go flat down like a dentist chair. Tiny was small, but powerful. He'd been tackled lots of times by bruisers a whole lot bigger than that linebacker from Sweetwater. But when Tiny died like that, I stopped dating football players. I felt like a jinx on him, you know, and I knew people were starting to say things about me behind my back. I stopped twirling, started drinking, got to hate Houston so much I couldn't stand it here anymore. Ran away from home and got into show business. Now I sleep around a lot, but only with musicians. They don't die on you like football players. I told you it wasn't a very pretty story.